Hi, everybody. This is day 1676 days since Richard was brutally murdered on Fort Bliss. Um, and it was treasonous. It is absolutely involves his chain of command. It also involves his unit connected to the Sinaloa cartel. And that's important because the Sinaloa cartel have now been designated as that, the the terrible, the terrible organization, and that makes a huge difference. So I'm going to get right into this because there's so much to cover, and I know I'm burning the midnight oil again, but there's no time to sleep because this is this is so. So much is happening during this time. You wait 4 years, right? You work real hard to make things happen for 4 years to get justice for your son, to get answers, to get his remains, and we did get pivotal moments, especially in 20, well, many, many times during that time, right? We have really pivot, pivotal pivotal moments in those years. It's never been a dull moment, right? And it's been all by God's hand. It's not the very sad truth to all of this is that they knew before we even got there, before we even knew anything. They knew exactly what happened to Richard. They have his remains. They absolutely know the connections. They absolutely know the connections. I want to even say the words deep state, the deep state, and I can absolutely confirm that all these connections are with a deep state, and that's very important to um, the direction of our son's investigation, where that is going now, because the deep state is being exposed. The the evidence the evidence is absolutely overwhelming, and it's not a secret. It's not a secret. It's all coming out. And today and yesterday, I think, were huge days. We really, with the Department of Justice, with the FBI, with the military, with Mexico, with Trump, with President Trump. I need to really make sure I always call him President Trump. It is just absolutely amazing what's happening. And sometimes you're waiting, you're just, things are happening, but in the last, what, 35 days, 37 days, how long has it been? It has just been like nonstop, nonstop, no time to sleep, because we did submit our complaint today for another one of the whole Mayella mess, the whole Mayella mess in the federal courthouse that was kept us. Shh, 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 deep state, deep state, shh, deep state. It's a deep state that wants to keep everything quiet, right? And so I have to come on every day, get as much of this information out to you so that uh, uh, y- what, because that weakens them. You see, the more people that know their secrets, uh, then they're weakened. Then they're as dust to fly away, right? They're just they're so weak that they can't take root anywhere. And, that is why this is so, so important to have these live streams and tell everybody. So what's going on? We really believe, huge chance that we received one of our requests again, and that is with Michael Pleaders. Michael Pleaders is immigration judge, husband of Representative Veronica Escobar. They're absolutely up to no good. And it's looking more and more that he is the El Paso immigration judge, along with four others from other areas. Um, that was fired, so I don't know. I'm just saying it's looking very good. Um, we're the feedback that we're getting back is everybody believes that was he is the one. Now, could that change with more hard evidence? Yes, but I just want to give everyone that feedback because we did request that he be fired, and um, and we can absolutely confirm that Representative Veronica Escobar was absolutely up to no good and that her husband was absolutely up to no good, y'all. And so that is why we requested it. It was just that bad. It was just that bad that we requested it. We put in a list and it looks like that he has been let go. Another request that we had in there was Jaime Esparza. And Jaime Esparza is a USA. That is confirmed that he has been fired. The media likes to sugarcoat it, but it's not a sugarcoating. He was fired. And so that is, he had a huge conflict of interest in the Walmart mass shooting case. Huge conflict of interest because his sister was there was there at the Walmart during the mass shooting, and so he absolutely was needed to recuse himself, needed to step away because he told the media back then that it was very personal to him, and so he needed to be prevented from being on that case at all. But he was allowed to stay on that case for almost 2 years. And as you might have noticed, if you haven't noticed, but you should go and watch the video, the music video that we released today about the Walmart mass shooting. About it's called Patsy, about Patrick Crucius, and puts a lot of things together about this case. And it was really for politically motivated and also financially motivated. The delay, absolutely um, just milking, or I would say it's highway robbery, right? It's highway robbery. They're salivating at their mouth for the money and they're delaying. And, that was their whole intention. And our open records are the audios that we have, the other evidence that we have absolutely confirm that they intentionally, and this is Joe Spencer, Sam Madrano, Jaime Esparza, Judge Waterama, because he plays a role in all of this, even though he did get through the federal case. But um, Michael Mayella, uh, Bill Hicks, um, James Montoya. James Montoya was the assistant district attorney with Jaime Esparza when the case in August of 2019 for the 2 years, right? For the 2 years until Jaime Esparza retired. James Montoya was there with him. So he's not like a newcomer into this at all. Um, and there's so much breaking news on that front too. So, a matter of fact, Joe Spencer and Jaime Esparza are very close. They're like best friends, right? They're best friends. So to allow, this audio that we have, um, uh, to cha-ching, 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 to get money. And where was that money coming from? That money was coming from the taxpayer. Now, Patrick Crusius should have gotten, if he had zero, zero, zero money, right? Zero income at all. Zero. You know, zero down the road. Wow. That was some kind of application, right? They didn't have to explain at all any kind of spending money, how he bought the rifle, how he, how he bought the orange when he went into the Walmart. He bought an orange for, he got there and he got a little hungry, went into the Walmart, got himself an orange, and then went out to the car. Um, and, I don't even know how well he drives. I don't know if he can even drive by himself. I don't know. That would be something an investigation would really, it would be interesting, right? Because we know that um his motor skills are not good. How do we know that? Just look at the handwriting. Look at the handwriting. Pat C for a grown man. Pat C, right? Now you can argue with that. You can say, "Oh, but I only signed this or whatever." But anyway, um, I've had some handwriting experts look at it, and it's very elementary. It is very, um, yes, it's very elementary. It's very childish, very childlike. So, yeah. Uh, anyway, the money was there to be made because they were intentionally going to delay to do nothing. It's like, oh yeah, we'll do this politically motivated case and we'll give a false narrative. We'll use this autistic, the autistic brother, let's get him out of our hair. Let's, I guess put him in prison for 7,000 years, right? Let's just do that. Get him out of our hair. We'll just use him and we'll direct him, we'll guide his hand, whatever. Let him go in and buy an orange um, but absolutely he could never. I mean, we've talked to so many people. There is no indication from anyone that this is at all possible for the likes of Patrick Crusius, right? For the training that you need, the quickness that you need, in the time, because the timeline is very important, and just organizing it and having the security down, and no guards there, and knowing that the security is down. And it really helps when you have like family member working for Walmart security, and when you have family member working in the DA's office, when you have a family member working at the FBI, when you have family member, that manages the federal courthouse and the cases, and and happens to work for the judge that oversees your case. It just um, there's just too much evidence there that makes the questions very uncomfortable, but really shows you that there is a real constitutional crisis, because there are groups of people. These are not just thugs on the street, right, living in little huts. These are people that wear suits, that wear robes, that have badges, that have access to information. And they are the people that Richard went to for help. They are the people that Richard went to report the criminal trafficking in his unit that was connected to the cartel. These are the people that Richard went to report his leadership, right? His leadership, that were up to no good with, supporting, or turning a blind eye, or actively engaged, or whatever the investigation finds out. But they were absolutely connected to the criminal trafficking that was connected to the cartel there in El Paso. And it's the Sinaloa cartel that are now designated the terrible organization. And it's so much has been revealed about the Walmart mass shooting case and Richard's case that now, finally, finally, the Republican Party in El Paso is Ray Baca, right? Ray Baca did an open letter, and I haven't posted it yet, but I'm meaning to post that. Somebody posted up for me, posted up there for me the open letter. I think it's in El Paso Times. Um, and he is, a Republican leader, and I don't know his connections. I mean, he could have really big connections. I mean, if he's Republican, he can have really big connections. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could even be connected to Woody Hunt or something like that, you know? I don't know. But he is, a big leader in El Paso, big Republican leader in El Paso. And he's writing this open letter that absolutely says that, I'm just going to, from my point of view, how I took what he was saying, that how dare they spend so many millions of dollars on the Walmart mass shooting case. And then the likes of us who asked Amy Snoddy to tell us how many millions are you that have you spent on Patrick Crucius's case? How many millions have you spent on Richard Halliday's case? We'd like to know. We'd like to know, right? And then they're like, "Oh, it's sealed information. It's sealed." Why is it sealed? He's a Walmart mass shooter with bad intentions. I thought that that's what and they won't tell us what the taxpayers have to pay Sam Madrano and Joe Spencer, right? And the victims funds that have been botched, right? The over 12 million. A lot of that money was a hunk of it came from the Governor Abbott. He was putting the money in for the prosecution, right? For the prosecutor's office to Jaime Esparza, right? And it was just cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. They were just absolutely up to no good. And, that they have the institutions, right? And so if you want to be a whistleblower, if you don't like what's going on, if you see the $37 trillion dollars in debt, and you're like, maybe this is not going in the right direction. Maybe we shouldn't be, letting people be killed for a cha-ching, right? Maybe we shouldn't let children be taken for a cha-ching. Maybe we shouldn't let people die of these substances for a cha-ching. Maybe we shouldn't give up our national security for a cha-ching. What I mean, I need to make another song, right? Calling it the wrongful cha-ching. And I'm a Mises. I'm an Austrian school economics person. I like capitalism. I love working hard. Um, and do not muzzle the ox, right? Do not muzzle the ox. Let people make money when they work hard, right? But not to the things that we've heard that are going on in these offices is and the barracks is like Animal House, right? It's like Animal House, and these I just call it the sex cult, right? And just it's just would your jaw drops, right? And it leads you into thinking about why Jeffrey Epstein got so popular, what his services were, right? Because they were making this cha-ching, 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 and they were doing it with impunity because they were wearing the suits, they had the badges, this is an infiltration of a system that has lost its checks and balances. And Richard comes in there and he's, thinking, okay, I need to inform my chain of command. And then he gets retaliated against. Well, then I need to inform the IG, and then he gets retaliated. Then I need to inform the CPS. Maybe the CPS will be for the children, and then he gets retaliated. No, now I need to talk to FBI Houston, and he gets retaliated. No, maybe I need to talk to Washington, D.C., and then maybe there were audits. Maybe there were audits, right? Maybe that's where he found support at the end of the day, finally, because it was President Trump that was in office at the time, and he wasn't finding it in the institutions that were surrounding him, no matter if they were Republican or Democrat. It didn't matter. He was not finding it. They were not Republican or Democrat. They were deep state. They were deep state in cahoots with the cartels, the Mexican cartels. And, which lets me segue into the what's happening in Mexico, because we are absolutely getting lots of feedback from the news that is out about all of these extraditions, and I've been talking about it for a few days now, that extraditions were coming up, and they are like a wowzer, right? Like 29 extraditions plus the extraditions of cartel members. And what we're hearing that is very concerning is that President Scheinbaum, the president, I hope I Scheinbaum, for Mexico, and I hope I said her name right, um, that she's must be under a lot of pressure. She must be under a lot of pressure, because in these extradited cartel members, it's not just the Sinaloa cartel. It's not just the Juarez cartel. It's members from several different. It's like all the cartels, and these are major leaders of these cartel groups. And she is absolutely waging war on Mexican cartels. And these Mexican cartels have a lot of money, and they have, a lot of suits, a lot of badges, a lot of stamps, which lets me so she's picking a fight. Or maybe Trump is picking a fight. Maybe President Trump has Mexico's back. I don't know what's going on there, but it is, there's just astonishment, absolute astonishment from everyone that we are talking to, that knows about Mexico and knows about these cartels, and they're just astonished, because they've never seen anything like it. They've never seen anything like this. So thank you so much for coming on, Anicia. Um, so yeah, I needed to keep talking and segue as I talk, because it triggers things that I want to say about, uh, this President Trump and the Zelensky meeting today, which, because of our history, we do have some insight into what is going on with that. Um, with Richard, our experiences with Poland, our experiences living in Europe for so long, with Germany, with Ireland, my parents being working for 9 years there in Moscow. My mom and dad were working in the American embassy there. My mother was in the adoptions. My dad was. Um, the everything man. If you needed anything set up for an event, if you needed anything repaired, if you needed uh, big flower pots and whatever, uh, you know, to make the embassy look beautiful. Um, my dad, security help, whatever. My dad absolutely was the go-to man for that. And they were there. They started when it was still communist, and they were there throughout the whole change. Um, they were there when the new embassy was built and they couldn't move into the new embassy because the embassy was so bugged that they couldn't even move into the new embassy. They had to stay in the old embassy. Um, and they saw the whole coup on the government. They saw Yeltsin, and I mentioned that before, and they saw the change in the economics. My dad stayed longer there in Moscow and helped open up the first hardware store in Moscow called Star Hardware in Moscow, Russia. Yeah. He's just a super handy man. Um, Great. I miss him so. Y'all, I miss my dad so much. We all do. We all do. Because he would have a lot of insight to what is happening right now. And of course, Poland being former Eastern Zone and being there, living there for 2 months during the adoption time. And, the area that I was in Gliwice, they speak German, so I could speak with them because that was former Germany. Um, and now is Poland, the borders, went back and forth during the World War. So, and then having very, very good friends in the former DDR, which is the Eastern Germany area, and visiting them and seeing the rebuilding of Dresden, seeing the rebuilding of Eastern Germany, taking so many tours over there. Um, just so fortunate to do that. It was just, homeschooling. We went on the Luther tour 3 times because other people wanted to go, and we wanted to show them what we had seen. And each time we learned more and more and saw more and more because of the rebuilding. When we first went over there, the buildings were absolutely shattered. Nothing had changed in 50 years. People were collecting their uh, the story. This is a true story. One man got a huge barrel of yogurt, and everybody was running there just getting some kind of paper or whatever to get a scoop of yogurt to take home. Um, and you'd have to wait in long lines if there were, tomatoes that came into the country. And, so to live in that kind of circumstance where you couldn't look, Moscow's huge, 6 million people, or I think it's more now. And my dad was part of opening up the first hardware store in Moscow, because people couldn't get paint. They couldn't get paint. They couldn't get the things that we take for granted here in this country because the economics there was shattered. It was shattered. And what it does is it shatters people's lives. When the work of the people is shattered, then it shatters people's lives and people get hurt, right? And and that applies to what happened in El Paso when the deep state, when the cartels, when criminal trafficking shatters the work of the people, and infiltrates the judicial system and the law enforcement system and bribes people, bribes and bribes and bribes people, and really is a stumbling block to them into criminal activity, right? Because what are you going to do? You have don't forget 2020 and 2021, so many small businesses caved. You have to struggle to build a small business, and then it caves, and then what do you do? What do you do? And you are forced into, like a la misera, right? Like a la misera, you're forced into misery. And so that is so important to have an understanding, to understand what's going on right now because of AG Bondi, Pam Bondi, and what has happened with the Jeffrey Epstein. Um, there are some really bad people that participated in Jeffrey Epstein. But there are people, that I think they have to be very careful how they release all of this information to us because we have a media that we can't trust, right? The media is not doing the journalism that it should, the investigative journalism that it should. They twist and turn. Did you see Beto O'Rourke today? He, wow, what a shallow minded person. Thank God he was never president because he just came out right away exposing that he is shallow, that he does not understand the dynamics that is going on right now, right? Um, Especially in the White House. What happened at the previous administration? What is happening now? What who are the rhinos, right? Who are the deep state? Who are the Democrats that want to do good, right? I mean, you had Yvonne Rosales that came in, and she was utterly destroyed, right? She wanted to try to do, I'm not saying she was a perfect person at all, not at all. I mean, I've heard some pretty wowzer, stories, but she absolutely, my computer wants to restart. Um, but the point is this is a group that is not. You saw that with Ted Cruz. He had the power over Christine Wormuth, the Secretary of the Army, by leaps and bounds. But some other entity, some other power was behind her that was above Senator Cruz. That's a problem. That's a problem. And if you have a young man like Richard that wants to report major crime and he cannot trust using the system, where do we go to? Who do we call? We can't trust 911. Who's behind the 911 call? Who's there at the clerk's office, the county clerk's office? Look, we have now triggered more and more letters because of our open records for the James Montoya um, botched installation. No way at all is he the DA. He's not a legitimate DA. So we're hearing that he doesn't even want to sign something. So when he does start signing, it's going to be illegal because it is so botched. I mean, the stamp had a 2028 on it. When was 2028? Oh, we're not at 2028 yet. We're in 2025, right? Um, and it also had a stamp on it by the county clerk. What is her stamp doing on it? It's supposed to be the Secretary of State of Texas that stamps, and why did the Secretary of State, Jane Nelson, why did she approve and put a stamp with the double stamp of the county clerks on there? And I'm going to release all that. It's been released, I believe. Did I release it? I think I did release it. And I did. I did a whole little diagram on it. So, and we got more open records surrounding that to make sure that when we say that James Montoya is not The district attorney, he is not, y'all. He is not. So if I was in El Paso, I would be absolutely on the horn to Governor Abbott because you have a very broken situation, right? And that office, the prosecutor's office in El Paso, cannot be left without a legitimate district attorney. And it has been years. It has been years since El Paso has had a legitimate district attorney. And you hear all of this thing about the judges, the firing of the judges, and oh, cases are going to get bogged up, but you don't hear any cry out against the illegitimate situation at the DA office, the prosecutor's office in El Paso, Texas, where you have the epicenter of criminal trafficking, where you have the epicenter of all of this connection with the Mexican cartels there and the border. To keep the people safe there, you have this huge breach. You have a huge breach in the system, and they're allowing it, and they're not saying anything about it. But you have now Ray Baca, um, a main player in the Republican Party there, coming out against continuing the Walmart mass shooting case, which is a very good thing. And, because and this is something I really wanted to explain to me. How did Patrick Crusius, that came from a wealthy family, whose family was in the county courthouse, not the county, the federal courthouse, right? And also in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza and James Montoya. Do not tell me that James Montoya did not know Michael Mayella Jr. Okay? Do not tell me that he didn't know that he was a computer whiz, that he was an award-winning hacker. Don't tell me that James Montoya and Jamie uh, Esparza, Jaime Esparza, didn't know that. They absolutely knew that. And Michael Mayella Jr. was also in the FBI office conveniently, and also with the Walmart security conveniently. So he's in four places. This is a conflict of interest, cubed. No, even double squared, right? Or what do you call it? I mean, it's just multiplied. It is so many conflicts of interest there. And Jaime Esparza and Joe Spencer are super friends, right? They're super friends. And they are just rolling in the dough, they're just having a feast on taxpayer funds. And how did that happen? That they got this open checkbook because Joe Spencer in his audio recordings absolutely demanded an open checkbook. I want an open checkbook. I want years of millions of dollars from the taxpayers' money. But wait a minute. If Patrick Crusius was 000, couldn't afford anything, not even that weapon, right? Who bought that weapon for him, right? Who was on that credit card, right? Who was on that payment? Um, it- you know, if he could afford it, then there's something called uh, the uh, the defender, right? The defender. Why didn't he get um, just I wrote it down here, the public defender? Why didn't he just get the public defender? Um, and that would have been so much cheaper. Why this dream team of Stevens, right? Mark Stevens and um, Felix Valenzuela, and of course the leader of it, Joe Spencer, and then all these other little the other attorneys that sit there and get paid. Why did Patrick Crusius get like this dream team with an open checkbook, millions of dollars, when he could have gotten a public defender, right? They didn't want that, right? They wanted to control everything. And you saw with the chart that I put up there, they were absolutely in control of everything except for Yvonne Rosales. Right? Except for Yvonne Rosales, and you see what they did to her. I can't even imagine what they did to her. Um, So now Ray Baca, Raymunda Baca, Ray Baca, is, coming out and saying, "Oh, no, no, this has been too much money, too much money." So all these years go by, and, finally, someone is coming out and saying, "No, we need to shut this down." So thank God. Thank God. I don't know if there's something behind it. I don't trust anybody. Um, but thank God it needs to be shut down for the people's sake. For they don't need to spend another dime on this. Patrick Crusius already has 7,000 years in prison. What do they want? They want the death penalty. They don't want the death penalty because the death penalty means it has to be investigated, right? It would have to go through appeals. And you know what that's like, and they don't want that. They want control over it. I mean, if anything, if the evidence, and don't believe me just saying it, the evidence confirms that they want control over this. And so they never intended, I don't think that Michael Mayella and his daughter, married to Patrick Crusius's brother, were really serious about a death penalty ever, right? So that is, and absolutely, I mean, I don't know if they would sleep at night because he's absolutely, Patrick, is not a racist. We know that. That was all a political narrative, to target and attack President Trump. And, uh, the cost, he's saying, and it's interesting that Ray Baca didn't even go there. He didn't even go there because that has been so debunked by the recordings, by um, Patrick Crusius surrendering himself twice, right? And of course, to a Hispanic officer, right? To a Hispanic officer that did not read him his rights, his Miranda rights, did not bag his hands. He had, no fear of him, no even suspicion that he might have some gun powder residue on his hands because they didn't even bag his hands, right? I mean, for Pete's sake, he went for Pat's sake, he went into the Walmart before to buy an orange. I mean, sorry, he didn't even break a sweat. And the whole thing with the surrendering twice, go away, come back again. It's just uh, so much surrounding that. So Ray Baca is absolutely coming out saying, yeah, enough is enough. Enough is enough. You know, um, so that is really important. The way they picked Sam Madrano and Joe Spencer and Jaime Esparza, they're all buddies, big buddies, and that is such an irregularity. That is also, I think, criminal because you're supposed to get judges, not handpicked, but they, computer generated, who's next on for the docket. Um, so that really begs some questions to the Council of Judges, right? So it's like, how did Patrick Crusius get Joe Spencer and the Dream Team, right? And they're not really dreamy, the Nightmare Team, right? How did the very, very expensive Nightmare Team, okay? How did Patrick Crusius, Patsy, how did Patsy get the Nightmare Team? Why didn't he get a public offender? Um, the Council of Judges must have approved it, right? And that would be Sam Madrano. So Sam Madrano is one of them, that sits on the Council of Judges. So it's like they held hands, oh, I'll bring in Joe Spencer and he can make the big bucks, right? With an open checkbook and delay. You see the backroom deals for the delay. Um and the delays happened. right? There's no question about it. We're right in 2025, and that happened in 2019, and we still don't have at this moment. It's a frozen case, not even hearings. It hasn't even no pretrial hearings scheduled. I mean, that's crazy. With enough evidence galore, enough evidence galore. Um, so this was just a real big moneymaker, and then um, Sam, this is our thoughts that Sam Madrano must have been the one to bring Joe Spencer on, and Joe Spencer, with his friend Jaime Esparza brought then Sam Madrano on. So the three of them, let's just hold hands and dance around and make a bunch of money. Um, and keep this case from going forward and just delay to keep getting taxpayer funds with this open checkbook. And then a sealed case, let's seal it so that no one can look in. You know, uh, I mean, it's so criminal. It is absolutely so criminal. And how are we ever going to know Patrick Crucius's true role in all of this and who helped um and even Austin, Texas is telling us that there absolutely were multiple, or that's what they think, that there were multiple shooters. um so and all our experts say no way, this cannot have been done um by the likes of someone with the situation that Patrick Crucius is in. Could not have been. And then you have the victims, right? And all the questions surrounding the victims and the chief medical examiner and the cause and manner of death, right? This is really important then, right? And to control the cause and manner of death, um, it, that is so important and often overlooked. And then, of course, the media. So, I hoped I answered a lot of questions. I want to talk about the Zelensky and the Jeffrey Epstein. The Zelensky, because of our experience and everything. Um, and I think President Trump's experience, he is a seasoned politician now. He wasn't a seasoned politician his first term. He was a seasoned builder and businessman. Now it's a trifecta: a seasoned builder, a seasoned businessman, and a seasoned politician. That's who he is. And the whole thing with Zelensky, and this is the problem with this Beto O'Rourke, how shallow he is. When you put together a meeting like that, which has been worked on for weeks, if not months, okay, this did not just come in the last 30 days. I'm sure this has been worked on since President Trump won the election, okay? It's kind of like the generals. They do things way before they even take command. They already have their feet in their job, right? So, so this was a planned deal. This was a done deal before Zelensky came. So for Zelensky to come to the White House on a done deal and then sabotage it and make it a political, it's really what they did to President Trump with the Walmart mass shooting, to put together a narrative. And I believe it's the deep state. The deep state, because it's been well said over and over and over again that Zelensky, um, you know, maybe he doesn't wear a suit because it would get in the way of the puppet strings. I don't know. I don't know. It's just that he doesn't act on his own, right? And so this must have been like a planned sabotage of peace because the deep state, they don't want peace. Um, that is very, very clear, with the whole exit of Afghanistan, with the whole beginning, the start of Ukraine, which has had always a huge presence of Russian people. Okay. Huge presence of Russian. And, I don't want to go into all of that, the geopolitics of that, but it's way more complicated than what us Americans can understand, unless you're going over there and or studying it and whatever. It is very complicated geopolitics there, and history there. So for Beto O'Rourke, he was just doing the Zelensky dance, right? He was just doing the Zelensky deep state dance. That's what he was doing. Is just very, very clear. And to see the response from the Secretary of State, uh, Marco Rubio, I think that was very, very clear. But I think President Trump really got the message that this was a sabotage. Okay, that this was a sabotage, that everything that they had talked about before the meeting even happened, before Zelensky came to Washington, D.C., before Zelensky walked into that White House, um, everything that they had talked, it was already all prepared. It was a done deal, and they just had to certify their deal. That, I mean, that is so clear. And yet, Zelensky sabotaged it. And that's why it was rude. That's why, $350 billion. We didn't vote for one penny to go down to Ukraine, which is also illegal because we should vote for that. And, and we didn't get a chance to vote for that because our system, uh, you know, there's just a lot of cracks in that system. And they've sent over $350 billion to Ukraine. And for um, Zelensky to come and to be a saboteur, right? Like in the Walmart mass shooting case, like Ernest Christopher Grant, like, and he's like the big one I can think of. Of course, you have the CBP lady, Donna Sifford, you have Chris Cuomo, you have Beto O'Rourke, you have Veronica Escobar, several saboteurs, right? That, just wanted to sabotage any kind of healing, any kind of resolution for the Walmart mass shooting case, right? Wanted to sabotage getting to the truth. Um, and of course, the media, and of course, all of the other entities surrounding this. Um, it's very clear. And I think that that was like an attempt to repeat. But Trump, President Trump, absolutely got the gist real quick of the sabotage. And so did Vice President Vance. And so for us and our discussions today, that's what we believe happened. No way would Poland's people ever want to side with Russia because of the history. When you are rushing around just to get a few tomatoes every so often, or bananas, I know bananas were like, woo, a premium, and you can't even get paint. When Russia, and the people, and I'm not, is saying that now Russia would do that to them. I don't know. I don't know what, but the people in Poland, if they speak out against Russia, it's because of that. And President Trump made it very clear that he's not siding with any country. He's siding with peace, because so many lives are being killed, so many lives. And it's $350 billion worth of weapons from us. And our interference, and I don't want to say our interference, but deep state that have badly used um, our name to do their evil deeds there, um, clearly. President Trump, his statements today were, it was so amazing to hear for us, because we absolutely have background knowledge too, um, that we can corroborate what President Trump is saying, that this is a sabotage, that the attitude had flip flopped, that they were there to get a peace deal done, and it was sabotaged. And get the hell out, get the hell out. Then I'm not going to put up with you playing these games with the lives of so many Ukrainians, of so many Russians, of so many, even some Americans, right? Because and think about, I can think of several journalists and that have lost their lives there, right? So, and then try to pick sides again, that it's about Ukraine or Russia or whatever. No, this is about peace. It's about stopping billions of dollars from going to Ukraine, without getting anything in return, because the country has been devastated. The people have been devastated. They're losing, like, I don't know, thousands. Um, and the economy, devastated. And so, to say, look, we can invest. We want something in our return. We got to start the economy again. We've got to build, and that's what helps everybody. You give them a fish, they eat for a day. You teach them to fish, they eat for a lifetime, right? So that was the deal, and Zelensky sabotaged it, and whoever is behind him or pulling his strings sabotaged it. That's clear. Now, on to Bondi and FBI Director Cash. So, Secretary or Attorney General Bondi and Director Cash Patel. Uh, so, what is happening with this Jeffrey Epstein? From our take, because this is really important for us, because of hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked through Fort Bliss, right? And that are now mostly dead, right? That they were trafficked. And there's no questioning that. That is absolutely what happened. And they were taken. They were taken. They're not like, oh, these are unaccompanied. Yes, of course they were unaccompanied, because they were taken, right? Because they were taken. They were trafficked. There's no doubt in our minds about that. And and we know that Jeffrey Epstein was very up to no good with young people, and servicing those with big money, with cha-ching, right? And he used that. Sorry, it's 1 o'clock. And he used that to blackmail and whatever, wheel and deal, and it gave him power, and it gave him money, and he had a lot of dirt on a lot of people. And you know, be understanding what they did to Richard and what they wanted to do to Richard, and what they wanted to do, what they did to him, and also what they wanted to do to our key whistleblower, to discredit them, to smear them, to try to do the honeypot framing thing. I absolutely believe, like Leilani Hart could absolutely be a big honeypotter, part of that honeypot plot thing. And Belen Rocha, honeypot plot, even if they don't even know it, they can be twisted and turned um, to be useful, right? To be useful, um, in those kind of things, and it's just so sad. It really is. And we absolutely know they had cameras everywhere. They had cameras everywhere, and they were taking videos and cameras. And I think that a lot of the unit members can't say anything because they have video on them, because they were bringing the girls into the barracks, y'all. They were bringing the young girls into the barracks, and they were absolutely bringing the alcohol and the substances with it. And they were bringing the cameras with it too. And absolutely, what they did to these high rich people with Jeffrey Epstein, they were doing in the barracks. Okay, they were doing it in the military, and even with the generals, and I would believe captains, and look at the doggy mask colonel, right, with the doggy mask sex cult, with the he's trying to recruit puppies and all this stuff. And they film all this stuff, and it's just ruination. It's just ruination. And now you cannot tell me that everyone that fell into these parties um, were part of the criminal trafficking network up to no good, and all of that. I believe that there was a lot of victims, and I think that that is the best way that I can relay what's going on with the Zelensky list. Um, and I think it needs to be very, very careful. There's I've never been like this big. You know that terrible things happen, right? Terrible things happen, but it absolutely, um, it needs to be very, very careful. You don't want to pull up the wheat with the weeds, right? I mean, you have the wheat and the tares, that God tells us to be very careful with, and that's why we've tried to be so patient in Richard's case, because we don't want to pull up the victims, and make these big allegations of, you know there's a lot of real evil manipulation. They were trying to do it with us with KTSM. Remember when Danae Katzen brought us to KTSM, and they used us to put out a false narrative to the public. They conned the public with Danae Katzen. They conned the public about the canines, right? The misinformation that we were fed about the canine. Um, when we absolutely know now that Borstar absolutely had a positive hit and found Richard's remains. We absolutely know that now, right? And that corroborates the other evidence that we have. So, there's so much attempts for false narratives to interfere in cases, to, um, you know, use people wrongly and then turn it on them, right? You saw that with Glendon Oakley Jr. If you want to get really like want to yell, and I left Glendon Oakley Jr. out of the latest video because I wanted to just focus on Patrick Crucius, Patsy, right? I just wanted to focus on Patsy. But you can't help but reviewing those videos and what they did to him and what they were saying to him. Oh my gosh, they were just attacking him left and right, just smearing him. It was just heartbreaking. I just wanted to go outside and scream. Oh my gosh. Because he is just what a sweet, if you watch, what a really nice young man, right? And what they did to him. Oh my gosh. It's like a double Richard to me. But what they did to Richard it's just horrible, y'all. It's just so bad. Um, anyway, I'm going to get emotional, and I'm not allowed to get emotional. I'm not allowed. I have to go forward. And I know this is really long because so much has happened and so much needs to be discussed. Um, with what is going on from these ex the all of these arrests of the cartel to the Zelensky. But the best part of the Epstein that I wanted to finish on with the FBI and with Bondi is they know this. They are not new to this game either. They do have done this business. And FBI Director Kash Patel, he absolutely knows what's going on. And what is his goal? His goal is to restructure the FBI. And we believe, we've discussed this today quite a bit. We believe that this whole thing with the Epstein, with the phase one, and giving it to podcasters and it not being, being a nothing burger, right? Well, it's something, but it's old news, right? Old news um, is now because it puts the light on, shines a light that there are bad agents that are withholding and destroying the evidence that would mitigate or um, convict many of these individuals that are on the list. And so the target, I believe, or the goal, the mission for this phase one was to get the public to understand that there are some bad actors in the FBI. Absolutely. And now, with that out there, because this is a government for the people, by the people, and of the people, and we have to all understand that there are some people that want to cover up what happened to children, what happened to the whole Epstein Black Book, and what they were all doing at the island, and all of that. And um, and so, but I think the main mission was to um, shine a light on the FBI that are destroyed, that are engaged in illegal activities, so that they can restructure the FBI. That's what we believe is going on. So, and it looks like we've been right all along when it comes to the money issue and the Walmart mass shooting case, and also in Richard's case. And we're very grateful for Ray Baca, who has such a powerful position um, in the Republican area to speak out. Because where is Governor Abbott, right? Where is Governor Abbott? He, yeah. Uh, and Ken Paxton. And I think that it's being, so this is not for me like I'm just, happy because President Trump is a Republican. No, I'm happy because after these last 8 years, 10 years, I believe, since 2015, you absolutely can see that there is a huge chance that he's not deep state, right? They don't like him too much, right? They don't like him too much. So that is the I think it's more about a legitimate government versus a deep state. I think that's what's going on here, rather red versus blue. And today, I absolutely think that Zelensky tried to pull a deep stater at the White House, and I believe that the FBI has to be restructured, um, and because there were so many leaks and so much tampering of evidence. And talk about tampering of evidence. My goodness gracious, you should get a load of this notaries. No, and I'm going to release it tomorrow, but I want to make some notes on it for everyone to understand the log. The log, oh my gosh. Um, so yeah, we are absolutely getting a lot of information, a lot of material that we are going through, and we are fight, fight, fight for the children, for our son, for our nation, for you know the victims that have to endure um, this real constitutional crisis in El Paso. Absolutely, constitutional crisis. Where is Governor Abbott? Where the hell is Governor Abbott? There's a constitutional crisis in El Paso. So with that, keep praying, and thank you so much, everyone. God bless you, and I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.